Hi everybody and welcome to another Gaffer and Gear. This is a very quick follow-up episode or a part 2 on the Exolux Control 1, which is a Lumen radio control system. So basically in the first video, which is about 4 episodes ago, I got some information wrong. I also completely missed a function that this thing can do, or a feature that it can do, and since then it's had a very substantial firmware update which has increased the ease of use and the functionality of the unit. Alright, so before we get into the video, number one, I just want to apologise about the sound. So you might hear a lawnmower going. One of my elderly neighbours has dementia and it's the 3rd time he's mowed the lawn this morning. His wife says it makes him very happy, so just put up with it. Now the second thing is, before we start talking about this, if you haven't watched the previous video, please watch that first, because I'm not going to explain things in depth. I'm just going to talk about differences. And I'm going to start off, I've had this on set and I've used it religiously for about a month. It has changed the way I work. It has made my job so much easier. But I want to talk about the problems you can have with this thing on set. And there are no problems with this, but it can create some other issues. So we're on a job and the focus puller was having insane problems with his remote follow focus. And it took me a while to click that I was the cause. Basically, I had this positioned between the camera and him. So if your follow focus guy starts having problems, just make sure you don't have this in between him and the camera. So basically just move it, problem gone. Okay, so what did I get wrong in the previous video? Well, in the previous video, I was talking about using this with an art node, and in that video, I mounted the art node to the back of the plate here like this. Now, Exolux saw the video, got in touch with me and said, you should not have 2 transmitters this close together. You should have a minimum 50 centimeter gap, ideally 1 meter. So when they told me that, I initially thought, well, 1 meter, that's going to be a problem. I'm going to have to run a second stand and a cable. Then I went, oh duh, I can go 1 meter up. So basically, if you're going to do that, have this on a stand and then telescope up on the next level and have your art node further away. So easy solution. Alright, so what was the feature I missed in the previous video? Well, it's to do with the playback app. So the playback app is where you can cross-dissolve between the scenes you've got saved. So the thing I overlooked is these yellow symbols here. They're scenes that are saved. Underneath it says click to edit. So basically, if you hold that down, you can now name the scene. So you can give the scene a name that you can easily remember. Now let's talk about the firmware update. So the first update is you can actually delete scenes that you have saved. So just to do a quick recap, if I press 1, that goes to scene 1 that I've got saved. If I press 2, that goes to scene 2 that I've got saved. So that's basically a quick recap. If I want to save an additional scene, basically if I've got an empty save, I hold the button down and wait about 4 seconds and it's saved. Now, if I want to delete it, basically I just hold the button down for longer. Okay, so I'm going to delete 3, hold it down, save, keep holding it, delete. Now, the next firmware update is naming of the fixtures. So previously they were just identified as fixtures 1 through to 40, pretty much impossible to keep track of. Now, you can name the fixtures and they're auto-named. So what I mean by auto-named is I'm going to start adding some sky panels in. So basically click on the fixture, go to add it, select my brand, ARRI, sky panel mode 3 is what I like. Okay, done. Now instead of being called fixture 2, that is now called ARRI 2. Okay, so it's fixture number 2 and it's an ARRI. So it automatically names, so that helps you keep track of things. I'll just add the third one in. And that one is called ARRI3. So it automatically names, so that's really handy. Now you can change the names. So I've got an Aladdin up here, so that's Aladdin, that's my key light. Let's say I want to call that key light, something I can keep track of. Okay, so basically hold it down. Okay, and now you can type in your name. So I'm going to call it key light. Okay, so now I can start identifying things. Now here's where things get really cool. Okay, so I'm just going to set up these ARRIs in different colors to illustrate. So let's go. Okay, so I've got two different colors there. Now here's where the naming is really cool. If you've got fixtures that share the same, what's this called, profile, okay, and you name them the same, so I'm going to call this one, let's just call it A, because that's nice and simple. We'll just call it A, okay, and I name the other ARI the same name. Okay, now they're grouped. So whatever changes I do to one, they all follow. So now you can group your lights together. So that's a really handy feature. Now the next thing that's changed in the software is automatic inclusion of added fixtures to your scene saves. So what I mean by that is if we save some scenes and then we added some fixtures later, in the previous version of the firmware, if we recalled those scenes, the lights we added earlier don't exist. They don't even come up on the list here. Now, those lights are now automatically included. So if we save this scene and then we add two more fixtures in and put them in on the Exolux and we come back to this scene, those fixtures will appear on the list. All right, I think that's it. I'm almost 100% certain I've covered all the firmware updates. I'm not absolutely certain because in between this version and the previous version, I was doing some beta testing for them, but I'm pretty much 90% certain I've covered all the updates. I'm Andrew Locke, see you on the next episode of Gaffering Gear, and the next episode is going to be on the DMG Lumiere, so that'll be up in a couple of days.